The Struggling Artist Record Club is a vinyl record subscription service where I hunt and curate the best punk and punk-adjacent music out there and mail their record to your door each and every month. Imagine finding your new favorite band from across the country without ever having to leave the house. It doesn't get much better than that. The excitement of discovering new music just got that much easier. As a member of the Struggling Artist Record Club, you are going to receive some of the best music you've ever heard from bands you may never even heard of. Whether you've been collecting records for years or just starting out, the Struggling Artist Record Club is designed specifically for you. And right now, all new members get a Struggling Artist Record Club exclusive along with the monthly selection. So head to StrugglingArtistRecordClub.com, pick a membership, and start building that collection today. The drive-in theater has a penis?
Well, so the sign, what's the name?
It's like the Rustic Theater,
Rustic.
right?
Yeah.
It's got like that weird, like, arrow-looking thing, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
holy cow.
Yeah, I'm looking it up now. So the sign, next time you see it, because it looks like they tried to paint away what definitely looks like a dick. the bottom of it, they like painted blue, and that's the balls.
Yes. Yes. I'm seeing it in my head now. That's easy.
So I don't know this for certain, but apparently back in the day, in leaner times, they were playing porn at that place.
Oh,
and it's where you go park and get interesting. But
wow,
I love that it's the old sign, because every time I drive by, I'm like, that's the dick sign.
I mean, let's face it. As far as drive-in theaters are concerned, that one looks pretty fucking sketchy. You know what I mean? Like it's right on the highway. I'm sure truckers. I don't know. I'm not. I don't know.
Well, you see the sign, you know. It's quite rustic.
Creepy motel across the street, you know. So, yeah, that's wild. I never even put that together about the sign there. Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought it was cool when I moved out here all those years ago. Like, I'm like, man, I've got 2 drive-in theaters within 15 minutes of me, because I have Mendon right here too, you know. So,
yep.
And I've never been. I haven't gone. I'll go to the theater alone, but like going to a drive-in is an experience you want to with the other people. You know what I mean? So,
100%. Yeah, it's kind of like when you get fast food and you park to eat it, and then you just kind of look left and right, and just you get no one really wants to be looked at because everyone's doing the same thing.
We're all a dirty secret. We're all.
I used to work in my car, and there was a lot of that.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah.
I had a little like logistics firm for myself where I picked up freight, and I was always on the road, eating on the road and everything, you know. So
100%.
Even when I was healthier, I'd have my cooler with food in it, and like I'd have like it would be like eggs, rice, and ground turkey, and I'd throw it on the heater while it to warm it up, you know.
That's awesome.
Did you do the same? What'd you do for work, like working out of a car?
I was testing cell towers. It was a very wacky job, because it was all like not even like climbing the towers or nothing. It was just like testing data strength for my car. But it was a lot of like driving out to the middle of nowhere, like Connecticut or New Hampshire, and those are the places where the only thing for lunch is Subway or McDonald's or something shitty.
Yeah. Did you ever get anybody like? We are going to get into the music, by the way. I'm sure you've heard the show. This is how this stuff goes.
100%.
So, like, did you ever have any, like, crazy, like, 5G people attack you or anything like that?
Not necessarily. It was mostly like, especially like if you're up in Maine or New Hampshire, which leans blue, but they do have guns.
Yeah.
And like I said, I was in my car, so I didn't have like a sprint vehicle or anything like that. So there'd be certain people coming out, because I have Rhode Island plates.
Oh yeah.
Or I'd have a rental, so I'd have like Indiana plates driving around neighborhoods and being like, I'm testing your cell tower, I promise. But I got a couple of very gun-looking stairs. You know?
Yeah, I've got family from Maine. I've got family that's in Maine, but like my grandfather was from like Bridgeton, Maine, and like I think it's Bridgeton, and like it was just the hillbillies,
100%.
you know. So I've got a couple cousins that aren't hillbillies, but like for the most part, like I was like when we were like they could communicate. I learned how to communicate with them just by like grunting, you know. So
well, beer helps with that, right?
yeah, for sure. Sean, are you originally from Rhode Island, or are you from New Jersey?
No,
Or neither. I'm assuming New Jersey because of the other projects you've been in, you know. So
no, I was born in Providence. My family moved all around when I was younger. Pretty much, I was raised in Orlando, Florida, and I was there from like 5 to 16. That's where I got into music. I started playing my first bands down there. Moved back to Rhode Island in 2004, and then the Scandals was, and we can get into that. But I always lived in Rhode Island, so for the whole life of that band, I was just kind of cruising down, taking mega buses and driving in for stuff.
Mm-hmm. Now, were you always from northern Rhode Island, or did you live anywhere else? I'm from like the westerly area, so southern Rhode Island.
Yeah. Well, and speaking, that's where the hillbillies are hanging, right? For sure. No, that's a beautiful area, and my wife and I rented a house in South County for like a season.
Yeah.
Which was pretty funny because you were either surrounded by the elderly or college students,
right?
And then we were kind of the only 30-somethings in there. But yeah, I lived in Providence the last 10 years. I just moved. So I'm about a week into this place.
Oh, wow.
I'm now in Lincoln.
Nice. Yeah, I remember, I don't even know, was I 18? It had to have been. I think so. I think I just turned 18. I moved out and like, you know, we rented like a winter rental, you know, in like
fun.
Party house. Like,
yeah.
It was down Charlestown Beach, so there was like 2 neighbors on the whole street because everything else was just like summer houses, you know? Yep. Oh yeah, we just rage.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We had a blast. We were right by, you know where the Ocean Mist is?
Oh, I love the Ocean
Yeah, we
Mist.
were a block away. So
that would have been dangerous for me, man.
Yeah.
Brunch. Actually, it might have been better. If I was
sure.
poor, you know.
Yep.
Yeah. They have that coffee with love. That stuff.
100%. No, and we love the beach, and that was right around when the first Structure Sounds record came out. And so, like, and there's a lot of like ocean stuff involved with that record, so it was kind of
okay,
kind of nice to also just kind of be immersed in it at the same time.
Yeah, that's cool. There's a Ocean Mist. Some of my first shows were at the Ocean Mist. You know, like a lot of people don't know this, but like my first shows were reggae shows. I was huge. The first show I ever went to was at Lupo's at the Met, and it was like, I think it was Capleton and Anthony B, like 2 of my favorite dancehall artists ever, which is hilarious because like if you think about like where like, you know, the lines between reggae and punk or ska and, you know, and like I can't stand most third wave ska. I can't stand, but like I don't know if it was because I just loved dancehall and like I was like, you know, what the hell is this goofy stuff? You know what I mean? But I don't know. But yeah, it's funny how like I feel like a lot of people who grew up in like a coastal state like Rhode Island, like you'll learn about like dance hall and you'll learn about like roots reggae and all that stuff pretty early on, I think. You know, I remember 100%. In high school, like even dudes who like dressed like rednecks like were listening to Buju Banton, you know?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was just a strange thing. That like whenever I meet people who like I worked with this Jamaican cat one time and like he was like blown away because I was like, oh man, I love dancehall, and he was like, oh, okay, you know, you see me, I'm like this big guy that kind of looked like a, you know, just like this like big redneck looking guy, and I'm like, and I was like, no, and I started naming off all these artists that like are like underground, and he was like, oh shit, you know,
you've earned the spliff.
Yeah, but I don't know, I just back home it was tough for me growing up, like just trying to connect with a lot of people. I had friends and stuff, but like, you know, I left in 2011. And like, I didn't even go to visit unless I was going to my parents for like a year. I just didn't connect with a lot of people down there. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So
yeah, small towns will do that.
Yeah. I'm sure. Like, I don't know. I feel like Providence was always a place. I really didn't like like I gravitated towards like the Boston punk scene, but like I knew Providence had stuff. I just could never find it. And I didn't have the internet, you know, for very long.
No, and I feel like it has ebbed and flowed. I mean, like I said, I moved back up here in '04. I think I was 15 or 16. And so I was stoked to say that I spent a lot of good time at the living room, which I think was the third living room for like a real Rhode Island head would be like, well, which one? But even just to be able to, that's where I went to a lot of shows in Orlando, but starting to go to shows in the living room is where I kind of got a taste for what was going on in Providence. And it's definitely ebbed and flowed. I mean, we've seen venues close down all over the place. We've seen a bunch open up. I mean, we lost Dusk recently. And,
I know.
And that was a huge bummer, especially for this band. That kind of became like our home base. And
really? Oh,
yeah,
that's
like Danielle.
That would be a nice venue to see you guys in too. Like I like that setting. You know what I mean?
I was really stoked. We had one show. We didn't know that it was going to be gone. We had a show on the books for I think it was January 2024, and that's the month they closed. So I was thankful to have that. But I think in a lot of the scene too. It kind of comes and goes, and that Dusk era was something really special that I'm sure we'll see it again. But of course there's always the 16, 18, 19, 20-year-olds that are doing things right now that we're too old to either A, be invited to, or B, it's just a scene of all their own. And I think a lot of it kind of starts with that next generation. So I'm sure we'll see something.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense how that works. Now, when did you start? You said you were down in Florida when you kind of got into music and everything?
Yeah, 100%.
How old were you?
I was 11 when I started playing bass. That was my first instrument. First show I saw... Well, first I saw a ska band called the Bus Drivers. It's funny. You were talking about ska. And it's funny seeing ska have another moment right now.
Yeah.
First band I ever saw was the Bus Drivers, and I got in the pit and broke my arm, which was funny because even like my brother was kind of like, quit being a pussy, dude. Like, get back in the pit. I'm like, all right, I'll do that. And then when I got home, it was just completely swollen. But first, like, show was at the House of Blues in Orlando, which, now is just total Mickey Mouseville. But even to a 12-year-old, it seemed like you were entering, the punk rock church. And the show was Bad Religion, Less Than Jake, and Hot Water Music, all in the same bill.
Yeah.
That was like my first show. And that was amazing.
That's awesome.
That was like 2003, 2004. So kind of the height of like a lot of those bands, Bouncing Souls, Strike Anywhere, all coming through. And that kind of raised me in a way.
Right on, man. Right on. That's awesome. So how did you link up with Jared and doing the whole Scandals thing?
Yeah. So when my high school friends, my friend Ryan and Kenny, we had a band called This Is a Movement for a couple of years. It was kind of like bit after high school. We put out a couple EPs in like 2010 and 11. And that was like the MySpace days. And Jared, I believe, cold MySpace messaged us like, hey, you guys are cool. I think he saw we had like something up on Punk News. He's like, we'd love to come play Rhode Island sometime. And, I was like, yeah, this band's great. Come on up. And we booked them at a place called the 201 Club, which another Rhode Island stereotype is where the 201 used to be, which is Westminster, I believe. Host of the show was great, and we stayed in touch. That band went down to Bayonne a couple times, and Jared hosted us, and we just became fast, like, tour buddies. And they went through a situation where I think it was like the whole band graduated college. Jared had a whole tour planned, and I know you've talked to Jared.
Yeah.
And just the whole band was like, yeah, I can't leave for 2 months, And so they all quit on him. So he cold called, because we were like tour buddies, but we weren't exactly like, best friends.
Yeah.
I just got a call one day like, hey, are you dumb enough to get in the van for 2 weeks? And I was like, yes, I think I am.
Right on.
It was really funny too, because the first show was in Connecticut. I had my girlfriend at the time drove me down. I got out of the car with a bass head and my bass, and I thought I was going to meet up with the rest of the Scandals who I knew. But it was like, hey, I'm Paulie, the drummer. I'm like, nice to meet you. And hi, I'm Anthony, the guitar player. I'm like, I didn't know you guys were new too. And the first time we ever played together was that night.
Was that show?
At the show. Yeah.
That's awesome.
You can imagine how that went.
I love stories like that though. Yep. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, it's like, there's a camaraderie thing to it. And then there's also this like aspect of just like, for the love of music, like the chemistry of music,
100%. Yeah. And I think, Jared's a lifer, and I think he could see in me that it wasn't just a hobby. So,
yeah, right.
And it's funny, like Paulie, the drummer, he just got married last weekend, so it's just back in Jersey. And
Oh, wow.
And it was funny driving home because I was driving home with a hangover, doing the same 4.5 hour drive.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, like, it's weird because there's a nostalgic feeling to that, but I'm also like, but we didn't play a show.
Right.
But I've been hanging out with these 4 dudes that are like family now.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome. That's awesome. So when did Structure Sounds begin?
So Structure Sounds, I've known all the guys forever, except for Rob, although, you know, I feel like I have anyway because he's amazing. Really was like the stereotypical COVID story of just like everyone had time to kind of take stock of everything. You know, I had a bunch of songs, and I do got to give credit to there's a band from here called the Callouts, who are really old friends of mine. Well, we've all been in bands together over the years, but you know, when we were all going crazy in our apartments, they were like, "Hey, do you want to just come to band practice? Like, just sit in a corner, throw a mask on, and bring a 6-pack just to see something." And while I was there, Mike, the guitar player, was like, "Hey, you know, if you ever want to just get out of the house, I'll just give you the keys to our space. You can come here and just play." And I had tons and tons of songs, so I called up my friend Adam, who I've known since I was a teenager. He was my brother's drummer for a while in the Down and Outs. And he's a fantastic musician. So, and he's a dad now. I'm like, hey, you know, if you have the time, if you ever just want to blow off some steam, and he was itching to start playing again as well. And that's kind of what started. It was just me and Adam in a room throwing songs together. I pulled in my friend Zach, the lead guitar player and singer, who just brought something completely different to the band that brought us up another tick. And then at that point, we needed a bass player, and Adam's known Rob forever, and he fit in like a glove, and that's it.
That's it. Off to the races.
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Mm-hmm. I want to say Ken Bousquet told me about your band a while back, and then I think Jeff brought it was a single at the time, or maybe it was the whole album to the round table. It blew me away. I had to buy it like immediately. I did, you know. I have the vinyl. I was like, I have that vinyl? I've listened to it, and I went and checked. I did.
Yeah. Thank you for that, man. Yeah.
Yeah, of course, man. There's just something about, I don't know, and like, I guess I get dubbed like, oh, the punk guy, because I talk to a lot of punk rock bands, but like, I don't feel like people quite understand, like, you can be punk rock and still be good rock and roll. And I've had this discussion on here before. And like, that's what I look for, good rock and roll. Like, just like something that I like, that like I like the sound of, you know, I can get behind like the lyrics, you know what I mean? And like you guys just have this, there's this thing, and it could be, it's probably a million different things that you guys do that makes you guys sound the way you do, that makes me like really gravitate towards it. But one of the big things is like having like the 2-singer system, you know, with certain songs. And like, I love that. And that's something like I discovered that, I don't know, years ago. The first band the first band that I could remember listening to and being like, oh, this is a different singer, is probably like the Drowns. And then like from there, like, just so like, I don't know. I think it shakes things up. It gets rid of any kind of like noise monotony that someone's gonna have, you know what I mean? Like, that someone's just like, because people kind of just like drone out with music, whether or not they like it or not. Like, it could be they could love it, but it just, that's what it does. But then you shake things up when you add another person singing like that, like you know, like to the forefront of it or whatever. Now, with that, like, how does that work with you guys?
Yeah, I mean, what I love, there's bands I love, like Lawrence Arms are a great example with. They have like the more Rusty Nails voice, and then the other voice, which is beautiful. His name escapes me. Not Brendan, but his songs are amazing. It's a completely different style, and what I really love is you listen to like "Oh Calcutta," and every chorus is both of them on top. You know, and so with our band, bringing Zach in, and you know, you mentioned the rock and roll side. Zach isn't much of a punk guy, which is awesome because he can solo better than all of us. He's an incredible guitar player, but he wasn't raised in that Kid Dynamite. Like, you know, when I was 15, he used to audition a drummer and just be like, all right, can you play the Linoleum Beat? And if they could, it was like, great, you're in. You know, that was the metric. But like, Zach's never played Linoleum. but he also has learned like arpeggios and bullshit like that. He's an amazing musician. But so on that, the same thing is like lyrically, the way he sings, it's just a completely different style and completely different to my style of singing, which is, a little more like that Rusty Nail thing. And so with our full length, he brought setbacks to the table. But at the same time, if I'm writing something and like I hear it in the chorus or the bridge, there's a lot of bridges that he takes. It was something where it's just, we need something a little different here. Zach's the perfect guy because it totally complements my voice and vice versa.
Yeah, I love it, dude. It sounds awesome. Like, I want to say, like, Light Up Your Sorrow is just an album that I have on rotation constantly, to the point where, like, all right, so when you guys, what was at the Christmas show? When did I see? I saw you at the.
It was Midway.
Yeah, it was at the Midway. What show was that though? Was that? Oh, that was the one that it snowed and Scotty Saints couldn't make it, right?
Yes, yeah, that was February, I think.
Yeah, okay. So watching you guys live was just like a delight. You know what I mean? Like you're all up there doing it, like performing and like I just see this thing and like I hear your songs and I'm like they bring like a certain like, not a nostalgic, but like a comfort to me. You know what I mean? Like a oh, I know this song, but I like the first time I heard your album, I'm like, oh, I know this song, but I don't. You know what I mean? And it's very, I don't know if the word is welcoming, but like your music, it's kind of it's kind of welcoming. I feel like, and it makes people feel, or at least me, like right away, I just felt good about like listening to it and like having music. There's music I listen to that's like super dark. And like I love it, and I can relate to it, but like this is another side of another style of music where I can also relate to, and feel like, I don't know. I just, like I said, I guess welcoming is the feeling. Like I just feel like they feel so comfortable that you feel like you know it already. You know when you meet someone and it's like that.
Yeah,
100%. It's the same thing. I guess I get that feeling from that album. And even even last night I was listening to it just like before today, and then I listened to it again today, and I'm just like, some of the songs, I'm just like, God damn, like these are good tunes, man. Like it's just something that I don't know how else to explain it. Like, is that something? Like, is that's just a natural thing, like how you write a song, or with what you do, or is that like you try to make these songs kind of like feel that way?
I don't know necessarily. I mean, a lot of it is like what I was raised with, the bands I was in, what's important to me as a person. But I mean, I guess we're just striving to be the French onion soup of music here, comforting and warm. No, but in all seriousness, as a songwriter, and I feel I've grown over the years, and you learn what to do, what not to do, and not rest on your laurels. And as much as we try and make every song a little different than the song before it, I mean, there's still that Bad Religion show from when I was 11 is still inside me, right?
Yeah,
and like,
right.
I think you're the same. Like that's just in your bones. So no matter what, no matter how hard I try, and one of my goals is to put out a soul album at some point,
cool.
like some vintage R&B. But at the same time, I might throw a triplet in there and just not even know I did it. And that's just based on the history there. But I've always loved strong choruses. Keep it anthemic, keep it sweet. Don't bore us. Get to the chorus, the Tom Petty of it all. But yeah, I mean, to me, it's always been song first. And if it's something that's not stuck in your head when you go to bed, then throw it in the trash.
Yeah. That's a good. I like that. Yeah, and maybe it's definitely more than, it's definitely anthemic, like for me. But like but it's more than that. I don't know. There's just something about it, dude. Like I connected right away. I don't remember the episode. I would have went back and listened to it when we were talking about it, because I know I was just fucking geeking out over it.
Well, thanks, dude.
Yeah. So, and then, like I said, I got to see you guys live, and like I was just like blown away. Like, but I mean, you guys all came from bands that that did this stuff, right? That were live. So you learn a thing or two over the years, and So for you, is the live show more important than the album?
I mean, the live show, maybe on an equal playing field. I mean, I would say even like the album and recording, and like you know, when I was in the Scandals, a lot of it, and like I said, I was the guy that was traveling in. So as much as I put everything into it, you know, there came a time where I had to go home, you know, and it felt like with this band, for especially that LP, I took sometimes too much ownership in the sense of making sure the album art was right, making sure the mixing was good, trying it in my car, trying it in AirPod Pros, AirPod not Pros, and almost where I was starting to lose my mind a bit with it. And what I love about the live show is it's like putting on an old pair of jeans. It's so I guess, and it's funny because the whole recording process and the artistic process is super fun, and it's what kind of keeps me breathing. But I guess the live show is something that overall is more fun because it's just something that's I've been doing for decades now.
Yeah.
And just it's great to hang out with my homies. And I'm a new dad, so and my son is amazing. But at the same time, I'm very thankful that like the band gives me something to go out there and go get it. You know.
Yeah. Are you finding being a new dad? Are you finding that balance to like kind of fit in right away, or you have to kind of reach for it? You know what I mean? Like you gotta, like, do you like, because there's muscle memory, right? Especially when it comes to like music and everything. So like, is there at any moment where you're like you come up to this thing like you gotta pick one or the other, or is it kind of just you knew what you were getting into, so you're kind of there?
Oh, sure. Well, I mean, we planned. You know, my wife and I planned for the baby. It's been interesting. You know, obviously, and we've never done this before, and what we've told ourselves over the last year many times is we have no idea what we're doing. You know, you just keep the little guy alive, and if he's smiling, we're doing something right. But it definitely was a wake-up call on, like, prioritizing what needs to get done now. Our drummer, Adam, has 2 kids. Our bass player has one on the way, his first. And so, you know, little things like if Adam can't make it to practice because it's something going on with his kids, no problem.
Yeah.
And just as well, like, you know, this is important, but family always comes first. Having said that, like having the band has been a lifesaver in terms of, you know, every couple weeks I'm always a dad, but if you get that half an hour to an hour at practice to just kind of turn that side of your brain off and just like scream into a microphone and make shit jokes with your friends, you know, that's a treasure.
Something you just said, you said, you know, after a year, you're like, we don't know what we're doing. We're just trying to keep them alive and happy or whatever. That's how I feel about myself. I'm still here. I'm doing okay. You know,
100%. Yep. And I think we're doing something right because my son Emmett, he loves guitars. He loves music. You know, and I got to be careful because you know, especially 6 strings, they get really sharp up top and crawl all over him. He loves them. Yeah.
Well, you got another one in your hands, right? You got another musician in the family right there.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
That's awesome. Do you so is like what when so you were with the Scandals for a couple years?
Yeah, about 2012 is when I joined. Last time we played was last year.
Right.
So
yeah.
So
okay.
So
yeah. So when you like kind of start a new project, right? Is there like, do you like long for what the other thing was? You know what I mean? Or is this like a different direction all directly, like, you know, completely, or, you know what I mean? Like sometimes I've had people on where we've talked about like, just like when they don't have a band, like just finding their own identity of who they are because they've been in a band for so long. And I've talked about people who've ended their band to start another band, but like just kind of like being able to start like Structure Sounds, right? And everything. Like, is there a balance with that? Like, do you pull elements from each other? You know, am I making sense?
You are. You absolutely are. No, and one thing I'll say about starting over is it's exciting, but more so it's an absolute pain in the ass. I mean, ask anyone who's got to start like social media accounts from the bottom again, and that whole side of it, which I think every musician agrees is you just want to bang your head against a wall because, you know, we got in this to be musicians, not marketers. But at the same time, like coming out of the Scandals, that's always there. I think both bands are very different, but at the same time, at their heart are the same sort of things. We were talking about that, like what's in your bones as far as punk rock and everything we were raised on. But no, there was a time because I always lived in Rhode Island, and throughout all my years in the Scandals, I'd end up coming home, and we'd play the Court Tavern, and we'd play Asbury Lanes, and like I got really, and my old bands always loved playing New Jersey. I mean, I had been to the Asbury Lanes a dozen times before I ever joined the Scandals, but like becoming part of that band almost made New Jersey. I mean, not almost. It is my second home.
Yeah.
And that to me felt like a hometown show for a long time. And so there was a bit of an identity crisis there if I'd come home. And I played acoustic for many years. I did like little acoustic tours. I played Pooza once, and that was great because I loved doing it. And so when the Scandals weren't doing it, that's what I do to fill in that gap. And that's definitely where I'd say there was an identity crisis, because what I really like is, having a gang, and that's what a band is, going up there with the drummer. If the night sucked, being able to get into the van and just lament about it over bad roadside food, and that whole part of it. So getting Structure Sounds together definitely filled that void.
Yeah. And now, so let's talk about when you do solo stuff. So is it anxiety? Is it just loneliness? Like what is it that makes it a little harder than having the band?
No, neither. I guess anxiety in the sense of just trying to figure it all out again.
Yeah.
I mean, I practice a lot, and like I played bass. I filled in for like Divided Heaven, and I was Sammy K's bass player for a little while. I know you talked to Sammy.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Awesome
guy.
Love him. For sure. And so like with the acoustic stuff, it's more like if I'm with my band and, like if you gave me a bass right now and we got the Scandals in a room, I could play us the 10 songs we played for 10 years. No problem. If I was going to play alone tomorrow and do a 10-song set, I'm going to practice all of it.
Right.
Just because you're alone. And that's the part where if you mess up one thing, you're the only one up there. It's you, your hands, and the guitar. So I don't, it's not a fear at all. It's almost more of just like, it's extra work and it's a load on top where I enjoy sharing. If we're going to screw up, I would love to screw up with 5 of us. I think that's where I'm getting at.
Yeah. Do you ever get like imposter syndrome or anything like that when you're playing? Cause I mean, like I said, like, we talked at the show, at the Midway and everything. And like, you're just like cool as a cucumber the whole time, you got up there and you guys rocked it, and like it was awesome, and so like, do you ever get that? Do you ever feel any of that, or have you been doing this for so long that's kind of gone now?
No, it's the old pair of pants. One story I could tell, the band Far From Finished, of course.
Yes. Yeah.
Their bass player Pesky lives in Germany, and I think it was the first time the Scandals were over there, and we were playing with his band The Uprising, and Pesky's a phenomenal dude in the best ways. And one of the funnier nights was we were playing a show that was pretty empty, and all the shows over there are amazing. It's great, and I would love to bring this band over there as well. But this particular show was a little weird, and dinner was great. The guy that was hosting us was awesome, but just the show was garbage. And I kind of turned off a part of my brain and just phoned it in, playing it, did the thing, drank the weird German beers I couldn't pronounce, and that was it. And then Pesky came up to me and just kind of sat down at the bar and was just like, "Fuck you, dude, that's bullshit." He's like, "No, He's like, I've seen you play the set 15 times over the last 3 weeks, and he's like, no. He's like, you don't go up there and fake it. And
wow.
So I've always kept him in mind. And it's true.
Yeah, no doubt.
My metric is 5 people. If there's 4, it might be a bit of a bummer. If there's 5 and up, let's have a great one.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. So with this, let's talk about the covers album or EP that's coming out. When did you guys start? Like, when did you decide you wanted to do something like this, like a covers project?
Yeah. Well, so we've had Light Up Your Sorrow came out, I think, December
2023. Yep.
Yep. Thank you. You forget. So we've been getting the second LP ready to go. Got about 6 or 7 in the can.
Ooh,
still
okay.
taking a bit. Obviously I've become a dad in that timeline. Rob's been busy. So part of that was like, we wanted to get some touring in this year. We're still playing shows, and it's nice just to have something new. So it kind of like almost as a challenge, it was like, why don't we take some of these covers we played over the last couple of years and just record them? I also thought it would be fun, and regretted it later, that we could just record most of it at home being my house. So we did record the drums with Trevor from Wilhelm Scream, his studio in New Bedford, which is
I've heard a lot about that studio. I've heard
it's amazing.
Good shit. Yeah.
I mean, he's a great guy. Scandal's played with them a few times, so but we've hung out, and awesome studio, and he's so talented. We did the drums there, took the export of that, brought it into my studio, also known as just this room. Threw down the guitars.
This is here, yeah.
Threw down the vocals, did some backup vocals, and and that's it. And we sent it off to Scotty Sandwich in North Carolina. Awesome dude, does a lot of great punk rock and other stuff. And he threw the finishing touches on it, mixed it. It's 5 songs. We're looking to have it out probably latest July. Okay. We're doing a run of tours in the Midwest in June.
Yep, I see that right here. Yeah, you're busy.
Yeah, it's going to be cool.
Yeah.
And we're hoping to have the first single out for that tour.
Awesome. That's awesome. That's cool. And then you said you're working on new music too, new LP.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I like that. I like that.
Going
you guys
slow.
are the last record was released on Wiretap, right?
Yep.
Have you been working with them for long, or?
They did that record, and then I think Rob's also going to do the covers EP as well.
Yeah, that's cool. So would that be a physical release too?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Part of it, and money wise, and I know you got the record club. Records are not cheap; they're expensive.
No. Yeah,
and I feel like the days of the 7-inch are kind of dying because it's getting expensive.
Yeah, So all right, yes, I agree with you. Yes, I do agree with about the 7-inch thing. And for me, I have too many 7-inches, and I'm like, I don't know what to do with them.
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
For sure. And they don't fit nice. I just moved, and downstairs my 7-inches are just in a weird box. I don't have a cube for them. Yeah.
Let me hold on. I got to see something real quick before we. Okay, cool. All right. So the episode with So I had Mark Lind on recently. When this comes out, the episode already dropped, so I can kind of rehash that. So that's kind of why he's doing a split with a 12-inch split. So it's just like an EP on each side. And I think that's a great idea for people who want to self release things, because now you're only eating half the cost. So you know what I mean? And the other band's doing the other half, and so I totally agree with you. And I've gotten EPs that are on 12-inch. And there's nothing wrong with them, but I do sometimes I'm like, damn, I wish there was another side.
Yeah. The Scandal's Lucky 7 EP is the same EP on both sides of the LP.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
I mean, that would work. I would listen to that.
But yeah, the thought with these was keep it lightweight. Let's just get 5 songs in the can. Because we really worked our asses off on our first LP. Not that we phoned this in, but the idea was let's do our best to get 5 covers down. Just something fun, something when someone finishes our record or likes our record, they go, hey, here's 5 other songs to chew on. Yeah. And part of that too is also gearing up for LP2, where then now we can get the LPs going.
That's a good like a buffer between.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the idea.
Yeah. What is it about Structure Sounds for you? What is it? What makes this the project? Other than satisfying my need to listen to it,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's a tough question because I guess my answer is just because I have to.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what I've done since I was a teenager. And we all have day jobs, but in the short window, including COVID, where just I wasn't playing and I didn't have new music coming out, there was a hole. So, I guess just because I have to, and I'm really lucky because Zach and Adam and Rob are 3 really amazing dudes to be in a band with. Sometimes, and I've loved everyone I've been in a band with, but sometimes it can be musicians are crazy people. You know this.
Yeah.
But they're amazing dudes, and so
I get along with them because I'm crazy in my own ways.
100%, yeah. And I'm nuts. They got to be in a band with me, which is a challenge as well, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But so it's a pleasure to play music with them.
Do you guys write together, or do you bring something to the table and then everyone kind of fills it in? And
I have I do demo first. There's plenty of parts though that just I get in there, we get to the bridge or something, and I'm like, hey Adam, what would you do? I have a bit of a problem over demoing. I just have a little bit too much fun at home, and I'll throw the bass down, the guitar down. I'll try and get an outline of the drums. But of course, I always try, like bass, I'll do first pass. And that's my first instrument, so it's near and dear to my heart. But I'll throw first pass on bass, and then always with Rob, it's like, hey man, take it and go nuts. But I'm trying to slim down the demoing. I mean, for Light Up Your Sorrow, we did 2 versions of pre-production, which is too much pre-production for anybody. But generally, it'll start with a demo. It starts with like a voice memo. You know, you're up at 3 a.m. There's been a couple songs I finished with the baby. You know, you got the baby up.
That's awesome, yeah.
You know, and something pops into your head, you get out the voice memo. Start there, throw it into Logic, and then at that point, I'll send it to the guys, say, hey, you know, maybe next practice, let's open this one up. Zach has been a really good collaborator for lyrics. He's a screenwriter on the side.
Oh.
So I'll throw it to him. I'm like, hey, you know, like, I wrote this song about how the world's on fire. You know, give me better words to get that thought out. So it's collaborative in that nature.
Yeah. I always think about, like, because I the whole writing a song thing, I'm just so fucking, like, obsessed with it because I can't do it. And, like, and I'm trying. I'm still trying, but I'm like, man, I just can't. I can't. For me, I too many words. You know, I can't even write like. So I wrote screenplays for the better part of 10 years, and like not to do anything with other than just to say, hey, I wrote this thing, and now I'm gonna put it on this shelf, and no one's ever gonna see it. You know what I mean? But like to write a short, I could never do it. I could never write like. I think I have that problem with like poetry and things like that. Like. I just can't. I'm just too wordy. But at the same time, I'm no Henry Miller. You know what I mean? Like that guy will describe a leaf blowing across the street, and it will be fucking 20 chapters. You know, so
100%.
Yeah. So, but I just can't. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard. It's hard for me to kind of flesh out this thing, and So one day I'll do it.
Oh, definitely. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just take what you're feeling, write it down, make it rhyme. You know, that's kind of it.
I think that's my issue. Hey, I might be overthinking it, and that's why. You know, you know, I always do that shit. Like no matter if I overthink something, like I couldn't learn GarageBand because it was simple, but then like I got into Logic and was fine. You know what I mean? Like it's just one of those things. I overthink the simplicity of things sometimes. And
me too. Yeah, and I work in data, so sometimes when it comes to the band, I over data. My Excel spreadsheets are clean, and I've sent it to the guys. I've joked before that I just make it extra annoying with I'm like, if you ever want to know anything where any dollar from the band went, just write in the Excel sheet, check that out. But same thing like with making notes on the recordings, and you know, sometimes I need to let Jesus take the wheel a little more.
Yeah, just let it go, you know.
Not project management.
It's tough.
It was funny talking about lyrics because we did do a Bad Religion song in the covers EP. We did 1,000 More Fools, and so you know when you're trying to get the syllables out, make sure that you're singing it correctly, all that. And there was so many lyrics. I think it's verse 2. The masses are obsequious, contented in their sleep, the vortex of their minds ensconced within the murky deep.
Yeah.
What the fuck is that?
What the fuck is that?
It's my favorite band.
You know, I'm gonna. Yeah, what the fuck is that? I want to say this about the covers. Does it have a? Do you have a title for it?
Yeah, I think we're calling it Stolen Sounds.
Oh, cool. I like that. Well, one thing I'm gonna say about it is like, there's an art. There's 2 different ways you can go with covers. This is how I feel. It's either gonna sound. Like you can either I feel like there is a magic to if a band who doesn't sound like this band sounds like that band when they do a cover, right?
Yep.
The biggest example I could think of is Hatebreed put out For the Lions, and it was like every band they covered, they sounded exactly like that band, and I was like, that's different, you know. But what I generally float to is what you guys did. Like you made these songs yours to the point where, like, again, that comfort in me was like. Oh yeah, this is just a structure. This is a structure sound song. Like I couldn't even figure out what the covers were of. You know what I mean? Which is awesome. I feel like, I feel like that's how it should be. you know. And like I said, the rarity of hearing Jamie Justice sound just like Danzig doing a Misfit song is funny and cool, and that's cool too. But like, yeah, to make a song, an established song, and you cover it, and it's like, all right, now this is like, it sounds like a structure sounds a song,
Yeah, no, thank you, man. And I think you're the first one outside of Rob from Wiretap and our band that's listened to it. So
yeah,
thank you. That's good to hear. What I'm like, you take a song like Back to Black, which is an Amy Winehouse song, and she's a amazing and haunting singer.
Yeah,
and I'm none of those things. So trying to take on that song was a chore in and of itself. The way she rhythmically drops those verses is insane. And if you really like write it down on 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, she's all over the place. And I don't know if that was the drugs or just the sheer talent.
Yeah.
And trying to step into her shoes. And live was fine. You just kind of threw it out there. But when we recorded it, I think I had to do those verses. Oh, Zach takes the second one. But probably 30 different takes to try and get the syllables right. And the way, I think the word, just the word she stretches out into like 8 beats.
Wow.
And it's amazing if you throw on Back to Black, her version, of course, and you'll hear it. And then when you speed that up into punk style, it's almost impossible. But I think we did okay. But it was things like that made, like the Bad Religion song was something where you just go back to everything we know near and dear with some tweaks. But, there's a Weekend song on there that was challenging. And the Amy Winehouse song was the most challenging, especially vocally.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you about, so like, I used to like, I'm a bit older, I believe. And like, I am always like, when I was younger, and I remember when I would hear a band cover another band, like it was awesome. Like it was like, oh, I want to hear that version too, but like for you, like, do you like doing cover? Like, is covers part, like, do you do a cover because you're like, hey, let's take this Amy Winehouse song and make it sound like us, you know what I mean? Or are you doing it like because you just love that song? You know what I mean? Like what goes into deciding what covers you're going to pull?
I think it's actually a lot of my other bands weren't big into covers. I was in the Jesse Minute for a while and they morphed into the Call Outs. We maybe had one cover over 5 or 6 years. Scandals never really did any covers. We did a Jaguar Shark song for a release, but we never really played it live. But I mean, learning how to play instruments was, I learned how to play by ear. So like I could learn something easy. And I think for this new band, the idea was like every show, let's have one cover. Cause for the first year of us being a band, I mean, we didn't have any music to show anyone.
Right.
So, the 1,000 More Fools by Bad Religion was one of the first songs that we just had in there to be like, hey, if we're going to play a punk show, throw that in the set because it's easy, except for the lyrics. But yeah, it was kind of over time. It just kind of became something that was fun to be like, hey, why don't we try this Amy Winehouse song? I mean, the Weekend cover, Blinding Lights, I just thought the structure of that song was great before we ever covered it. Just to my ear, it's a perfect pop song. But Zach's guitar solo in that song is amazing, and I've joked that it's our best song, because of that. And it's the Weekends. But this is actually kind of new ground for me because it's more covers than I've ever played in a band. But we'll generally only do one a show. I mean, if we did more than 2 in a gig, then at that point, what are we doing here? I mean, we might as well move to Nashville and play on Broadway.
Yeah.
But so, we don't want to become the covers band, but it's just something to add a little spice.
Yeah. Now, how do you deconstruct a song to reconstruct it as your own?
Well, on a bass level, we play half step down. So even if I learn it note for note, it still just kind of has a bit of a darker seasoning on it, just because it's moved down a key. But yeah, it's kind of when I'm thinking about it. Even like the bridge of Back to Black, I really love what we did, and a lot of that was Adam. Who's a nutball, who had this whole Tom thing going on. And it was the sort of deal where he just Adam's a chef as his day job, and he treats drums like he's in the kitchen. And that's even if he's had the worst day of his life, he's in there, he's going to cook it, it's going to taste great. And he's there to work. But that was like something where he went home. I imagine he must have just banged on his cutting board and just came back to practice. It was almost like something he owned. And so I think it was mostly put the chorus together, make sure that works, find a good intro. I think the Back to Black cover reminds me a lot of like Nimrod era Green Day with that whole intro, the kind of like machine gun thing. And I find it really fun with a song like Back to Black because that's something where if we're going to make it into a punk song with overdriven guitars, you can kind of do whatever you want. I mean, it's an open canvas as far as like how you want to play it or what attack, and speeding it up in like the second verse and choruses was cool. Because it is kind of like you just wrote your own song anyway. Yeah,
man. I enjoyed listening to him. I listened to him today before we did this, and I was just like, let me just kind of dig into this a little bit. And I listened to a couple songs over and over. Yeah, I could not figure out any of those songs. I was like, I don't know. These are structure sound songs now.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Well, like the Oscar song is a super deep cut. I don't know if you ever listened to Oscar. Did you ever pick up any of the Punkaramas back in the day?
But yeah, I had one or two of those back in the day.
Yeah. Strangled is the Oscar song. I believe, I want to say it was Punkorama 6. It was on there. And it's an awesome song. I think they were teenagers when that record came out, which is amazing because it's a very, very good song. Wish I could do that at that age. But it's funny because I brought that song up at practice because Zach had never heard that song. He sings on that one.
And I don't think I've ever heard the original. Yeah.
No kidding. Yeah. Throw it into YouTube or whatever. It's out there. But I brought up that song and I didn't know that Rob knew it. And he's like, I love that song. And Adam loves that song too, because that same DNA of growing up in punk rock, it was like everyone had Punkorama 6, whatever.
Yeah.
But Zach had never heard it. And that's what I thought was even funnier was I'm like, that guy sounds like your style 100%. And Zach took a listen to it and he's like, yeah, I love this song. And so that was even better to be like, take someone that's never even listened to the song and be like, hey, take this one on. And so that was really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, is everybody from the area?
Zach and I lived in Providence forever until last week, where I moved. Adam lives in Warwick, and Rob lives in Uxbridge.
Oh, okay. All right.
Close to you, I believe.
Yeah, that's real close to you. Yeah, that's awesome. Cool, man. Well, so yeah, let's run through the tour real quick for people. Hold on. Let me make sure. It might not be. Hold on. All right, we might not run through the tour because I think it's going to come out after that. I apologize.
No, the tour's announced.
Oh, okay. No, I don't know if this is going to be out.
Oh, sure. No, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Yep, no worries.
Let me look. I might be able to squeeze it in. So let's run through it anyway. And if
Sure.
it's after the fact, well, travel back in time and go see these guys. So
no worries.
Let's see. It starts out. You're going to be starting out in Pawtucket. You're going to hit up Ralph's Diner in Worcester. I love Ralph's Diner.
Yep.
That's a favorite place of mine. West Side Bowl, Youngstown, Ohio. I used to live near there. I used to live near Youngstown.
Yeah.
I was in Cranberry Township. It's like a little suburb right outside of Pittsburgh. Yeah. So, what's Blue Island, Illinois? At Pub Time on June 13th. Blind Bob's, Dayton, Ohio, June 14th. And June 15th, you're in Philadelphia at, I don't even know how to say that.
Yeah, you got to try because I've been trying to deal with that as well.
Oh yeah? Ortlieb's? Ortlieb's?
Maybe you need the accent.
I don't know. They're just going to call it John, right? Isn't that?
I'm in the same boat, yeah.
They're just going to
I hear the hot dogs are phenomenal.
Yeah. Okay. That's right. Right on. So this is a cool little run. Like, it's a good tour. Especially like, you guys have families and stuff, right? I like seeing stuff like this. If you have cause it's feasible to go out there and do this run, especially when you have 2 tour dates close to home,
100%. And that it's funny cause when I was in my 20s and like the Scandals would go out and we'd do it for a month and like, it was amazing, and I loved all that. you know, and like I said, Adam has kids. Rob's got one on the way. If I'm going to go play a shithole in the middle of Ohio, then it better be goddamn worth it. And I mean that in the sense of the vibe and the people coming out and just all that stuff. I mean, we used to go play just to play.
Yeah.
And I'd do that till the day I die. But if my wife's got to put the baby to bed every night, you know, we better have done our best to make sure that they're the best shows and
right
it's
on.
moving the ball forward.
Yeah.
And so that I'm really excited about this because it has been a little while since I really went out and, bringing this music out to places we haven't played before is always exciting.
Mm-hmm. Ohio's got a really good punk thing going on out there too. Like,
yeah, and it's fast.
Yeah, yeah. Like we used Michael used to be on the round table and he's from Ohio. So when we did our locals, he was always bringing like these Ohio bands, and I'm like, man, it's like some good shit out there. You know what I mean? Like I've driven through Ohio a lot due to my job when I was living out there, and like I never would have thought.
Yeah.
By some of the some of the weird shit that goes on in Ohio. I would have never thought it would be like that, but it's strong, man.
Yeah.
It's strong.
And it's vast. I mean, this movement used to play a place in Akron called Annabelle's. Awesome place. It's closed now, but they would do 25. I never got there until the Scandals, but Tuesdays were 25-cent beers.
Yeah.
Quarter beers.
Yeah.
And the Scandals played there once, and when we loaded in it, I'm like, what day is it? It was a Tuesday. I'm like, it's quarter beer day. Finally did it.
That's another story for another podcast.
Yep. But it feels like a whole continent. I mean, between Cincinnati and Columbus.
Oh, dude, it's
You know, it's
yes,
vast.
I do. Yeah.
So we'll see. I mean, we have the Youngstown show and Blind Bob's, which I think is North and South Ohio. So should be cool.
And Youngstown, I think, is close enough to Michigan too that you're going to bring people in from over there.
Oh, for sure. Yep.
Yeah.
And we're playing. There's a band called Boob Sweat over there. And they're great. And, my old friend Lawrence put me in touch with them. They were really sweet. I have the basement. I'm just waiting on some of the info, but I guess they do crazy basement shows over there.
That's awesome. All right, so where can people find Structure Sounds on the interwebs? Where can they find your music? Where can they find you on social media? What's the best way to buy your music?
We are at structuresounds.com, Instagram, Facebook, all that at Structure Sounds. Somehow it was all available. I'm at Sean Plays Music. You can buy at structuresounds.com. You'll find the Bandcamp link. We're selling LPs on there, T-shirts, and all that's packed and shipped by me. So feel free to throw me a note, and I'll hook anyone up. We'll be out there on tour, and you can find all that info at the social medias.
Cool. Now, do you still have Let Up Your Sorrow on vinyl and cassette still? So will that be with you at the shows and stuff?
Yeah, we got a handful. Yep.
Cool. By
the time the tour's out, hopefully they'll be out of here, and maybe we'll get a second round going. But yeah, it's light.
Let me ask you something about cassettes real quick before we go. I think of them as I buy them, but I think of them as art pieces, and I feel like because you guys look like you guys had like a short run of them, right? Real limited.
Yep.
I feel like that's the way to go. You know what I mean? Because now it's limited, right? So if you only have 50 of them, like people are like, "Oh, I got to get on this." Like, you know what I mean? I just think of them as art pieces, but like, what do you like? Do you guys sell them? Like, is it worth doing cassettes still?
I'll be honest with you, it was controversial. I love cassettes.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan. When I was doing acoustic shows, the EP I put out was only cassette. I was just like, it's 5 songs, I recorded them at home, just make cassettes.
Yeah.
So one of our band members didn't want to do it. He's like, why the hell would you do cassettes? No one's going to buy that. Partially right. We do still have some cassettes left. It's done pretty well. I think we've already made that small pug profit on that.
Yeah.
But there's still a lot of because sometimes they sit, and the funny thing with cassettes is they're fat. So when you have them in your merch box, like if you bring 50 cassettes, like that's gonna be like a quarter of that merch box.
Yeah, that's a big box.
Yeah, for sure. But no, I'm happy to have them, and yeah, they do sell, and I think they're great. I'm hoping for the covers EP. I think we're probably gonna end up doing CDs. I would love to do cassettes.
Yeah.
Maybe even like a 25 run.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think they're fun because I'm 36. So like when I first got into buying music, they were still around. I used to tape songs off the radio that I liked or a friend's CD, throw it onto a cassette. My first bands used 4-track recorders. That was cassette tapes. So I'm a big fan. I still have a boombox in my kitchen. And my son loves them because, they make a loud noise when you bang them.
Oh, yeah. They click and stuff. Yeah.
Yep. And I also love vinyl, but I've noticed, like, if you go to a thrift store, they've now marked up the LPs, and it's the same shit. It's Pat Benatar stuff, which is great.
Right.
and Herb Alpert. It's all the same shit. But now it's $5 a piece, but you can still get quarter cassette tapes.
Oh. So, I don't thrift enough for that stuff. Because I found some really good stuff thrifting, like just art in general, and I should do that more often. Like I miss the flea markets. I haven't gone to flea markets in a while, But yeah, you're right about the vinyl. Like they're just marking everything up. Like I love Fool for the City, but like I'm not paying more than $1 for that record.
I'm so 100%. I'm so thankful because when I was really beefing my collection up, I got all the good dad rock.
Yeah,
like Dire Straits self-titled, boom, $3. Or like
that's great. That's
every Rolling Stones record, like you find a beat up copy of, I don't know, give me a Hot Rocks, $2.99. That's fine. My favorite is the Eagles. You find a Hotel California in any like mom and pop shop, and they need the cash. It's fine. But a used Hotel California will be like $18, and let's not pretend like that didn't sell 8 million copies.
Right.
We're all here because people were boning to Hotel California.
Right. No, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Everyone owned a copy.
Favorite band. Yeah.
This is not rare. It's a $5 record.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Yeah.
It's. I feel like just from the COVID thing is when vinyl just kind of. They had issues. I know, like one of the pressing plants burnt down or something, but like, it got so out of control and it was in demand. I think more so like because of bands, like bands like Structure Sounds had to wait in line while Metallica and all these huge bands repressed their albums for the 4 millionth time or whatever.
100%.
But I think that's what made the price go up. Like, part of it anyway, you know what I mean? Like, people really want vinyl? Okay. So. Yeah.
And it bumps me out for someone that's 15, right? And just getting into this hobby and like, they don't have $40 for the Black Album on Pink.
I don't know. Maybe they do. Maybe like allowances inflated too.
Sure.
I don't know.
Sure. But wouldn't it be sweet to spend $20, come home with a stack of records, hate 2 of them, but 8 of them are the best thing you've heard this week,
Yeah. I don't know. I'm right there with you, dude. That's why I do the record club, and like I try to keep it as low as I can.
For sure.
Like, I had to raise the price just because like I was like the $20 price point is just not feasible anymore. Like I can't lose money on. I don't mind not making any money. I don't want to make any money. That's not the point of me having it. But like I can't lose money on this, or I can't lose a lot of money. So I had to increase the price a little bit, and we've been able to get some stuff because it was like I had like 3 or 4 records basically. Like I wanted to buy, but we couldn't make a deal because they needed X amount, and I was like, all right, that's when I decided like, hey, it's gonna have to go up a little bit, So
100%. No, and the band knows it too. Like where if you stay with someone or like the venue owner's been really kind, it's like, hey man, here's a shirt. Very quickly, it was like, we can't do that with the LPs. The cost is just too high.
Yeah. Because I don't think some people realize that either. And I also, when people get mad because like because of the weights and stuff like that happened, and sometimes things snag up and you got to wait a little bit longer. Like, don't blame the band. It's got nothing to do with the band, know.
No, and that's another reason why the covers EP we're not going to do LPs. So that way it's more lightweight. We can just get it out there.
Yeah. No, it's cool. I'm happy. I'm happy you guys are putting it out. Like you said, like we were talking about, it's a good buffer to the next LP. You're about to do a run, so to have it out or have at least a single of it out is good.
Yep. It's a palate cleanser.
Yeah, for sure. So what's next? I know you got an LP, another LP in the works. You have any kind of timeline for that you want to share, or just tell me to shut up and I'll
No.
Once we get off here.
We could do this all day. I got I made it through a tall boy and a half. We have the tour coming up. we're still writing the next LP. We're looking at studios, taking our time with it. Our bass player Rob's having a baby soon, so we'll probably get a little quiet towards the end of the summer. We'll be poking our heads back out. Would love to play a bunch of new places next year. See all our old friends, team up. We just went out with The Humanity a couple weeks ago. That was great. Love to find some other bands to team up with weekends, and really it's about the hang and the experience, and it's a pleasure to be still doing this. And so we'll be out there somewhere, especially if you're in New England. You have a better shot of seeing
I was gonna say that's a perfect, like, New England's perfect for being, having families and stuff and being a band, because you can cover a lot of ground. You know what I mean?
Yep.
In like a day. So
100%. And Midway Cafe still does matinees. That's good for people our age.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite. I'm not gonna lie to you. That's my favorite.
Yeah.
Show to go to is a matinee at the Midway.
I love that place.
Oh man, it's awesome.
Long live the Midway.
Sean, man, thanks for coming on and chopping it up with me. I appreciate it. It's something you guys. To be honest, I apologize for not reaching out sooner. I should have reached out the moment I heard your album. But I get imposter syndrome. I'm like, yeah, he doesn't want to hear from me. So, even though I think we were like Facebook friends, right?
Yeah.
I was like, nah, he doesn't want to hear from me. So,
let's put the mics away and go get some pizza.
Yeah, we should do that soon. Yeah, for sure. You're not far. Yeah. I don't know is there good pizza in Lincoln? I don't know. There's none here. Blackstone Valley has no good pizza. Like, there's decent pizza, but
Oh, I have opinions, but I also play in a New Jersey band, so
fair enough.
I just shut my mouth when it comes to pizza opinions.
Right on, man. Hey, when it's time for the other album, let's do this again.
Awesome. Thanks, Trev.
All right.